Patrick Mahomes this weekend, there's been a lot of chatter and people kind of having their minds blown by the behind the back flip. I'm going to call it a flip that Patrick Mahomes did during preseason action this weekend. I know that you're one of the biggest Miami Dolphin fans that I know, and Dan Marino could do behind the back things that would make Patrick Mahomes look like absolutely nothing whatsoever. We've got some footage here of Dan Marino. Look at that, behind the back, right into the end zone. Is he at midfield there? Can I get a ruling on what yard line Marino is on? That's at least 40 yards, it appears to be. Dan Marino, of course, always gets a lot of love from me on Super 70 Sports. He is unbelievable. Threw for 5,000 yards back in 1984? He had 5,000 yards and 48 touchdown passes, which I think if the NFL was a pinball machine, those kinds of numbers would just tilt the machine in 2024. I don't even know. That's like 8,000 yards and 65 touchdown passes probably. What do you think of seeing your boy Dan Marino there just doing that like it was nothing?
Yeah, the game is different these days. I would love to see what Marino could do now when you're not allowed to hit the quarterback. But you're right. I am a Dolphins fan. I grew up watching Dan Marino, so I had the pleasure of seeing him, in his prime, even though I was pretty young at the time. But as delusional as you are about your fighting skills, that's how delusional I am about my sports teams. So I don't care. Patrick Mahomes could go on to win 20 Super Bowls. I'm still going to say that Dan Marino is better than him. So you just can't.
Look, it's a team game. It's a team game. I'm actually going to say you can't just automatically go with the person that has more Super Bowls. We'd all rather have Dan Marino than Eli Manning, right? To your point. And there you have a new world record. That guy right there, what was his name? Ryan Buckets, Charlie Bucket. Who is this motherfucker? 1,134 three-pointers hit in 1 hour, which shattered the previous Guinness record for most three-pointers sank in an hour's time, Ronnie. Unbelievable achievement for this guy. I wouldn't have thought that it would have been possible to have hit over 1,100 three-pointers in 60 minutes.
Dude, I guarantee you, if you gave me whatever it is, 1,100 shots, I'd have a decent number of air balls, especially if I was shooting for an hour. And the fact that this dude made that many in a row, it almost seems impossible, right? I mean, you probably think you can do it because you think you can do everything.
I don't know if I can. Yeah, and I'll beat up a bantamweight after I'm done.
And
I'll sink 1,135. Yeah, I'll sink 11. How about this, Ryan Buckets? I'll sink 1,135. I'll knock out a 118-pound man while I'm on my way to firing a strike right down the middle for a first pitch. How about I do all three of those things? Because that's just what I can do. And I'm not going to let the fact that I bounced one up there at guaranteed rate field dissuade me from that. You got to believe in yourself, right? Failure, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If I believe in myself, if I got back out there to do a first pitch again tomorrow, I would crush it. Look at this guy. I'm surprised that he was able to get off that many shots. And the question, and look at him, motherfucker's missing some too, as you would expect. What I couldn't find as I was looking up the information on this is how many he missed. Somebody had to have tracked that. So I would be interested in knowing what his percentage was. It looks like he was, somewhere in the range of probably 85% maybe from at least what I'm seeing, which that's a lot of misses. I mean, granted, that's incredible shooting. I'm not quibbling. I couldn't hit 85% of my threes on the best day of my life, but he probably missed, I'm thinking, at least, I'm going to guess he missed at least 150, something like that. I haven't seen him make more than like 4 or 5 in a row to this point.
Yeah, I heard the whole thing wrong, man. I thought that's how many he made in a row, and that's why I was dumbfounded. So,
no.
So this is a stamina play.
Well, it's a combination of stamina and skill, because, you know, if he was making half of them, he would have had no chance. Yeah. But I just wanted to know how many he missed. It seems like journalism in this fucking country is dead, because is it too much to let a brother know how many threes that this dude missed? Is that too big of an ask, Ron?
It's not. I bet Amber would have asked that question.
Well, that's a good point. And look at the way things are going with you. It's time to go to the bullpen today. Let's bring in the witty, the clever, the talented writer, OutKick.com's very own, the great Amber Harding joins us on this Monday morning. Amber, what do you think about this dude going out there and draining 1,134 3-pointers in an hour? Crazy.
I'm glad that you guys mentioned the stamina thing, because that was the first thing I thought when I saw that clip, was not just how hard it is to be good enough to hit that many free throws, but how bad my arms would hurt after about 10 minutes. So I don't know how he did that.
Big time truth. Big time truth.
I watched the interview with him, and he was saying that he trained for it like he would train for a marathon, basically. So it's like, okay, we'll shoot for 20 minutes today. We'll shoot for 30 minutes in a few days. Then we'll shoot for 15 minutes to get, to kind of get some rest. So like he put the work in, Ricky. He deserves that world record.
You make such a good point, because when I would take my kids to Chuck E. Cheese, and hey, look, you're at Chuck E. Cheese, when in Rome, Dad's going to get a few tokens too. You know what I mean? I'm pushing 6-year-olds out of the way so that I can play games, as any red-blooded American male would want to do in that scenario. And I would always go over to the Papa Shot, and I would always try to get the high score, give my kids the tickets, obviously, but it was show off a little bit for my kids. I got limited opportunities to display superior ability. So when I can compete against children, it's a big advantage for me. And you're right, your forearms just burn after like 3 or 4 rounds at Chuck E. Cheese. So I can't imagine what this guy was feeling like as he was getting into those last 15 or 20 minutes. It must have been ridiculous.
Yeah, I bet he wasn't reaching for anything off the top shelf for at least a week or so after that. But we always think we're invincible, right? Like one time I watched Trevor Hoffman throw batting practice long after he had retired, and the next day he had so much ice all over his shoulder, his arm. He was just telling me how much pain he was feeling, and I was like, God, he used to do this every single day. So it's crazy how quick we lose it,
Yeah. I don't know how old Ryan is, but certainly younger than me. I don't know. Maybe I would have attempted it in my 20s. I probably could have gotten that many shots off, but there's no way that I was going to hit anywhere approaching enough to scare a Guinness record. So Amber, let's pivot here and talk about something that I think is probably equally as unlikely as somebody being able to hit that many 3-pointers. And that is a piece that you have up on OutKick.com. Dr. Dre, just when you think that the Olympic stories are over and we're kind of putting it to bed, I know everybody's still talking about poor Ray Gunn and her breakdancing. The memes are still reverberating around social media from the 2024 Paris Games. But of all people, could it be that Dr. Dre is already eyeing 2028 to go out and represent the United States of America and possibly be a medal hopeful. Take me through this and help me process this, because when I first heard about it, my jaw dropped.
Yeah, if you had told me like 20 years ago that all of these rappers who were super famous then were going to be just like Olympic icons now, I wouldn't have believed you. But Snoop Dogg was involved, Flavor Flav was involved in the Olympics this year. But Dre literally came in and said, "Don't forget about Dre," right? So he's like, I think I'm going to compete in archery. I'm going to be an Olympic medalist in archery. That's what he's decided. I can kind of relate, because sometimes if I'm like sitting on my couch a few beers deep watching American Ninja Warrior, I'm like, I could do that. So I feel like that's kind of where Dre is. There's such a rich bored person problem, right? He's like, what do I get into today? I think I'm going to hire an archery coach. So that's what he did. He hired an archery coach, and he is going to be ready, he says, for the 2028 Olympics in LA. He said he messed around with archery back in junior high, which for him was about 50 years ago. So, I mean, I guess that's enough to go off of. You have to start somewhere. So he's got an archery range in his backyard now.
It's incredible. If he somehow manages to qualify for the Olympic archery team, that's a moment. Archery may be the next episode, I guess, is what we're learning here. Ronnie T-shirts, you have any thoughts on Dre stepping up and saying that he's going to compete in the 2028 games as an archer?
Sounds like Dre has Ricky Cobb level confidence, which is completely delusional. Like,
I feel like Dre and I could get together and beat up bantamweights. He would just be like, "Yo, like, I'm in."
Remember when I told you there was zero chance that you could beat a bantamweight? There's no chance that Dre is going to be in the Olympics. Like, the amount of, I mean, you're going to have to go Malcolm Gladwell level 10,000 hours to even be somewhat good. I mean, there's people that have devoted their entire life to these, like, oh, I'm just going to start archery. Like, what will he be? Amber, did you say he's 59?
He's 59,
he'll be 63. He'll be 63. There's no chance.
Does age matter in archery? Is age a handicap in archery as it is in other sports? Are there world-class archers that are 60 years old?
I imagine you still have to be able to hold the bow up and pull it back and keep steady and there's just no way. This is silly. He wants attention, and this Ricky level, again, the Ricky Cobb level confidence it feels like it's becoming an epidemic in this country.
Can you imagine when The Chronic came out? Like, just thinking to yourself, I bet in like 35 years that motherfucker will be bringing home archery gold for the United States of America. It's the logical conclusion of everything that is. He's left us a breadcrumb trail his entire career that leads to archery success. Amber, let me ask you the hard question this morning. Who has a better chance? Me of beating up, like the number 10 ranked 118 pound boxer in the world, or Dr. Dre finding the podium in 2028 in archery? I know that neither of us have a snowball's chance in hell, but if your life depended on it, who do you have more confidence in?
Oh, Ricky, you're going to put me on the spot like that. With all due respect to you, because archery is a non-violent sport, so I feel like you would have to get beat up a lot before you'd actually get good at it. You might give up before you reach the podium. So I'm going to go with archery and Dr. Dre. Even though I'm with Ron, I don't think there's any chance. But who knows? Maybe 4 years from now, we'll all be sitting here and we'll all have our foot in our mouths because Dr. Dre went and did it.
Look, Amber, I respect that, and you're very likely right. But I'm a little bit like Jordan. There's going to be, when they do the 30 for 30 on me beating up a bantamweight years from now, they're going to play your clip, and I'm going to be like, I took that personally. That's going to be my moment. You've just fueled my fire. So, guys, I had a question up over on Super 70 Sports on X, asking people what their worst concert experience was. And I know that for me, going to concerts is always a blast, but they can't all be home runs. And so once in a while, you go to a concert and you kind of end up with a bit of a clunker. And the one that I tweeted about was a Hall & Oates concert that I went to in, I believe it was 2007 here in Chicago. And they came out, and I shit you not, the tweet is 100% not embellished in any way. Every single word of that tweet is accurate and really happened. I sat through about 45 to 50 minutes of Hall & Oates Christmas songs. They literally came out and opened with the first Noel as an actual matter of fact. That happened. No Hall & Oates songs at all for I believe I looked at the set list. I posted it. If we can get a look at this set list so people know that I'm not on crack. They came out, did 10 Christmas songs. It took a long time. There was after maybe 4, 5, 6 songs, the crowd started to get restless. They were jeering Hall & Oates, which was not really in the Christmas spirit at all. Daryl Hall basically told a guy that he would kick his ass from the stage in between Christmas songs. If you can imagine this, they play a Christmas song. The crowd is yelling shit. Daryl Hall is like, I'll kick your ass. And then he's like, this next one's called Born in Bethlehem. And we're right back into Christmas songs. Hands down for me, the weirdest concert experience I've ever had. They took an intermission. Then they came back, did 7 Hall & Oates songs, 7 or 8 Hall & Oates songs, didn't play Maneater, didn't play Private Eyes, left, came back for an encore. I'm hoping that I'm going to get Maneater, Private Eyes, and stuff like that in the encore. The encore was Jingle Bell Rock. They dropped fake snow out of the ceiling. It just cascaded down on the stage. Hall & Oates out. Concert over. Without a doubt, the weirdest, probably most unsatisfying concert experience of my life. Now, having said that, everybody has a concert experience or two that wasn't optimal. Amber, in your lifetime of attending live music events, do you have any shows that stand out as maybe not quite living up to your expectations?
Yeah. I don't know if I can top that story, but I do have a story. Not technically a concert, but I worked a fundraiser once where the musical entertainment was Walker Hayes. If you don't know who that is, he's this country pop guy, and he sings that song about date night at Applebee's. It was in several of the Applebee's commercials. It's very hokey, very silly. Well, this charity was raising money for kids with this very serious congenital heart defect. It's often fatal. And these parents are up here giving these heartfelt speeches about their kids who had passed. There's a slideshow in the background showing all these sweet faces of these sick and dying kids, super sad stuff. Everyone's sobbing, everyone's crying. And the MC goes up there and says, now for our musical guest. And there's this guy standing up there by himself with his acoustic guitar. And he just breaks into fancy Applebee's on a date night. I wish you could see the looks on those faces, because I can't even drive past an Applebee's without seeing those horrified faces in my head. I have never been so uncomfortable. It was the ultimate read the room moment. And honestly, I would rather sit through Hall & Oates Sings the Phone Book than have to go through anything like that ever again.
Well, it sounds like he had a limited number of hits, and he was just going to, it was just ride or die with the Applebee's song. It was, he had the fastball and he was going to throw it. That is also mortifying. Amber, in its own way, as it ruined Applebee's for you, is what you're saying. Yeah,
I'm never going to eat a Bourbon Street steak or eat an Oreo shake ever again, because I just can't I can't handle, and I can't even blame the guy because what position to put somebody in? Like the saddest possible time, everybody's crying. Like we're talking about the saddest thing probably that I could even think of. And they're like, sing. Like, what are you supposed to do at that point? So I don't even blame the guy. I think he was just like, I don't know that he really knew what he was walking into.
Yeah, that's a tough situation to be put into with your Applebee's song. Ron, look, I think Amber and I have both brought it pretty disastrously strong so far. Do you have anything that can even begin to compare to these two situations?
So before I give mine, I do have a question for you, Ricky. Are you sure like that this concert you went to wasn't promoted as a Hall & Oates Christmas concert and you just missed it?
So you're going to blame me for it? You're going to blame
Yeah.
me that Hall & Oates came out and played they opened with the first Noel. What kind of a fucking party starter is that? I mean, you're all excited to see Hall & Oates. You're like, yeah, here they come. They open with the first Noel, Ron.
I feel like this was user error. Yeah, I feel like this was user error.
It said it was a holiday. It said it was like the Home for the Holidays tour or something like that. But tours have all kinds of, every tour has a name. I didn't know that they were going to come out and play 10 straight fucking Christmas songs, Ron. How could I have anticipated that? Who does that?
Clearly
Who does
Hall &
that,
Oates.
Ron?
Clearly Hall & Oates.
Well, now I know. But could I have rightfully assumed? Would you, under any scenario, have assumed that Hall & Oates would come out and just fucking feed you 45 minutes of Christmas music and take an intermission without playing a single non-Christmas song? You're really going to blame me for that?
If that's what the flyer said that was like posted on the light pole, the electric pole, yeah, I think
the flyer didn't fucking say that. The flyer didn't fucking say it. Joe Kinsey, the great Joe Kinsey of OutKick.com says Bob Dylan, he stood or sat on stage for 90 minutes mumbling, waste of time. Well, Joe, that's every Bob Dylan concert, and he's an American treasure. I'm going to disagree with you there.
Oh man, Joe.
I've seen Bob Dylan in concert 25 times, and he mumbled through every single fucking one of them, and I couldn't have been happier about it. Can I get the Loverboy back up there again? Loverboy, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, 2009. I love how Johnny Oldfield sets the stage. With my girlfriend, she loved Loverboy. I hated Loverboy. She told me that later that night I would be her Loverboy. Well, Johnny, that's optimistic. Hey, listen, we'll set through some TV shows or go to concerts for the ladies in our life. So I'm with you. Remembering what it was like to be her Loverboy, I asked her to marry me. Marriage lasted 15 months. Damn you, Loverboy. Well, I will say that Loverboy is at least partially at fault for that. I'll judge. The judges will allow it. Poor Johnny Oldfield had a hey, look, I had a marriage that lasted under 15 months years ago. I'm not blaming it on Loverboy, but it is what it is. So I guess we came out of it good compared to Johnny Oldfield, guys. I feel better now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right. Let's go to the poll. Let's go back to the poll and get some more reaction to this. We know that the far side is running away with things. When we checked it earlier, Amber, I don't know if you caught the earlier portion of the show where we were talking about today's poll over at Super 70 Sports on X, but the options today, Amber, and I want to get your take on this because you're the smartest person on this program right now. Your choices are Lionel Richie, the Far Side comic strip, or comic panel, I guess would be more accurate. It was a single panel comic. The third option, Ronnie, help me. The third option was Snickers. And the fourth option was the Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, so Lionel Richie, what did I just say? The Far Side, Snickers, and the Dukes of Hazzard. So Amber, faced with those options, which direction do you go this morning?
I guess I have the popular opinion because I'm going Far Side too. I remember how fondly I would wait for the Sunday funnies, and my dad and I would read them every Sunday. I would get so excited because I mean, they had the funnies every day in the Indianapolis Star where I grew up, but the Sunday one was the big one. Everything was in color and it was, it took up like 3 or 4 pages. I loved the Sunday funnies. So I'm going to have to go with Far Side.
All right. And I love the fact that you call them the funnies because my grandfather, he used to call it the funny paper. First thing he would do in the morning, he would set the funny paper aside and he would save it. And look at that. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Is it like 10% of the vote you're looking for? Because if that's what Lionel Richie's looking for, he found it. Ungrateful, America. Ungrateful is all that I'm saying. I'm going with Lionel Richie, says Rick Tyndall, just because the Commodores and his solo career was my high school and college years. Thank you, sir. Finally, someone, look, I did vote for Far Side. We're in unanimous agreement here, the 3 of us on this program right now, but I feel like Lionel Richie at least deserves to represent a little better. Snickers coming in behind the Dukes of Hazzard is really bewildering. And Doug Bragg, I'm going to agree with you on that as well. Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.